Hello, this is www.spicyreads.org. I'm Ed Spicer, and I am pleased to be interviewing K.T. Horning, children's literature guru and author of From Cover to Cover. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this interview. Hello, I'm Ed Spicer, and this is www.spicyreads.org. Today it is my pleasure to speak with the author and children's lit guru, K.T. Horning. K.T. is also the Special Collections Coordinator at the Cooperative Children's Book Center at the University of Wisconsin. Hello, K.T.
Hello, Ed.
Please tell us what the Cooperative Children's Book Center does and what you do within that organization.
Okay, well, the Cooperative Children's Book Center is kind of an unusual library. We're part of the School of Education at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and we are also funded by our state education association, and our mission is to work with teachers and librarians around the state of Wisconsin to help them find and select the best books for children and young adults. We receive pretty much everything published in the United States for children and teens. We keep that as a collection for librarians from around the state to come and do book selection. And we ourselves, we have 3 librarians on staff. We're always evaluating the books, talking about them. We have monthly book discussions. We travel around the state. We take as many books with us as we can, and we talk about what we think are the great new books of the year and why. And because we get pretty much everything, it allows us to observe trends. So we notice the sorts of things that we're seeing, the sorts of things we're not seeing. One thing, just about anybody who goes into even a really huge bookstore, they're still not seeing everything that's out there.
Since you see so many books and talk to so many readers, teens and adults and librarians and others interested in children's literature, what is the most misunderstood aspect of children and teen literature?
That's a good question. There are different kinds of misunderstanding. I think in part it depends on what the person's experience is so far. If it's somebody who doesn't know children's or young adult books at all, who's completely outside the children's book world, the biggest misconception I find is they don't realize that the literature has changed since they themselves were children or teens. Even if they were a teen just 10 years ago, books have changed a lot. For people in the profession, I would say the biggest misconception is that there is a lot more diversity in children's literature than there is.
Yeah.
And I think that you just see those books promoted more, definitely in the library profession. But we do keep track of multicultural literature at the CCBC. We've been doing that since the mid-'80s. And in that time, we've never seen it go about 5% of the whole number. So it's really a minuscule amount.
In your book, From Cover to Cover, you suggest that reviewers should consider things like author's intent. I know that I often cannot do this. So do you have any suggestions for those who attempt to figure out author or illustrator intention?
Well, I think you're right. It is hard to know what an author was thinking when you're reading their book. Everything that's in a book, whether it's in a novel or a work of nonfiction or a picture book, it's done very intentionally. There's never anything accidental in a book.
Yeah.
And so if something just seems out of place or it doesn't seem quite right, I think it's the reader's and definitely the critic's responsibility to look at it a little more deeply. And you might still not know what the author-illustrator's intent was, but just to always remember that everything is a conscious decision in a book.
What are the first attract your attention or catch your eyes when you read a good review of a book, and how is that different from when you are reading the book itself?
Interesting. Well, actually, I think it's a lot the same thing. For me, when I read a good review of a book, or when I read a review, I like a good hook. I think a first line of a review is really important. I like the review to have a voice. And I think the best reviewers are able to give a little sense of the book they're reviewing from the way they choose to write about the book. It comes down to reviewers also need to do more showing than telling. I really don't like reviews that are just a plot summary and then the last sentence is
it was a good book, it was a bad book.
Yeah. Kids will love it.
We both know that the formation of the children's market originated institutionally, which is vastly different from the way our adult market came about. Initially, children's book sales were driven by the institutional pull of school and library buyers. So with the explosion of blogs and videos and ebooks and audiobooks, how do you see the world of children and teen literacy evolving when it is so easy for anyone to speak directly with buyers, including lots of buyers at one time via social media?
Well, I think that there's also a step in between that, and that was with the shrinking library budgets.
Yeah.
So that libraries, public and school libraries, were no longer the majority of the market, and then the big bookstores at that time were moving into that. So we see much more emphasis on what will be in a big bookstore rather than what librarians will be able to buy for school or public libraries. I think, thank heavens, that we do have literary awards in children's literature that still make a difference, and young adult literature as well. And I think that that really helps to keep the quality up. But in terms of the social media and the blogging, talking directly to the readers, you know, that's actually a great question. I think there still is room for the critical media, the professional media, and that is still the main focus of children's librarians who are purchasing books.
So you don't see any real big impact on places like Hornbook, Kirkus, etc., with digital reviews diminishing their importance?
I don't think their importance is diminished. I think that in many cases these review journals are also using social media, which is good. They're getting the message out. I really like bloggers are excited about it. Oftentimes it gives me books I should go out and look for and take a look at and read. The early buzz that bloggers can create, I think, can make a big difference. But I still do go to the professional review journals to find out in terms of making I think there's a difference between purchasing a book for my own reading and interest and purchasing a book for a library collection.
Once again, this is www.spicyreads.org. I'm Ed Spicer. Thank you for joining me for the first half of my interview with K.T. Horning, author of From Cover to Cover. Thanks.